Lots to discuss on lulls today. No more ESPN Bet, a rigged fight in the UFC. Just another week on lulls talking about rigged sporting events. We also have some shakeups in the sports betting space and some ramifications for what that means for the fantasy operators as well. We will discuss all of that and more. I'm Pete with Brick. This is Lulls.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right. Please do not dupe us, bros. Indeed. I heard, I think Levitan referenced that on his solo pod this week. So the earworm of the intro has infiltrated all corners of the DFS universe.
Well, that's good. I was listening to their him and Silva's long recap or whatever. I haven't gotten the solo pod yet.
Okay. Wow. You know, even as me, a big ETR fan who consumes a lot of their DFS content, I will admit I don't even listen to the team by team breakdown ones, but that makes it into the Brick 75 rotation. I'm impressed.
Well, ball knower, Pete? You know, you got to keep up. I think with the other ball knowers.
What was now I'm going to quiz you. What was the most interesting nugget you gleaned from that episode?
I got to the Bears stuff, and then I kind of tuned out after that.
What's the read on the Bears this week with the backfield? You know, is Swift back? Does Monungai, did he earn more work? What's the boots on the ground?
I think the consensus is he's going to get more work.
Yeah.
I don't see how you don't.
He looked good.
He looked good, and he's good where Swift is bad too, which is like actually trying to run the football.
That's right.
In the middle of the field, especially.
Shout out to our guys here early in the chat. I've never seen or thought that your first name or your username is synonymous with a literal brick emoji. That's pretty that's cool for you. I wish I had that.
Good point. It could be a logo.
There you go. So work on that. What's up? We got the what? We got Ashton Coates. We got Meat Gazer. We got Trevor. Yeah, lots to discuss today, Brick. Where do you want to start? Because we have a bunch of kind of random topics here.
Probably ESPN.
Yeah. Let's start here with ESPN. So we kind of got the double whammy news that they are, winding down their ESPN Bet kind of sports betting offshoot that they had gone into business with Penn for.
Yeah, just a mere 8 years early.
Yeah. And when did this happen? Because we talked about it on Lulz.
2023, believe it or not. Time flies, Pete.
Yeah, geez, man. Yeah, I remember talking about that on this. So that was 2 years ago. And then the follow-up, or we'll first talk about like what led to this, because we have a tweet here. Actually, let me share the full window. Penn Interactive division here, including ESPN, reported a loss of $76.6 million during just Q3 and is down $227.6 million through the first 9 months of the year. Those losses at a time when all its major competitors are seeing positive contributions was too much for ESPN and Penn to continue the ESPN Bet partnership. I would say that is enough to throw in the towel.
That is pretty amazing. I wanted to go back and watch our shows on that deal because we were pretty critical, I believe.
We were very skeptical.
Very skeptical. I wonder if we made any predictions. This would have been an ambitious prediction, dissolve within 2 years. But I thought we said something like that was bound to fail. And Barstool was like, they weren't making money, but like, what were you like? They gave it back to him for $1. Just seemed like a crazy, like loss leader, or however they wanted to frame those decisions back then.
And I mean, the whole thing, like, I think just from, I'm not a huge consumer of either ESPN or Barstool, and yet it seems like Barstool does a way better job integrating sports betting content than ESPN ever did.
Yeah.
The way they handle, I know they had the one 30-minute show every day. You get some tickers and stuff, but there was it was a very half-assed effort to integrate it.
Well, and what was the one I think one of the first scandals that came out, the gambling scandals, remember ESPN took off the ESPN Bet logo for the
we were showing that last week. It was after
that
the
last
Chauncey
week?
Billups thing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them. There's so many now. It's hard to keep track. They're taking off the logo, so they're ashamed of it anyways,
And they were running, this wasn't ESPN specifically, but it was the FanDuel and the Shams stuff on NBA draft night, where it's Shams was a FanDuel affiliate or influencer, but then was tipping off, picks and knew the NBA draft stuff. And there was all this kind of stuff about journalists also being in bed with the sports betting sites and what that meant for ESPN from a journalism standpoint. It's if you're losing 227 million or whatever, then it's certainly not worth the optics of conflating journalism with sports betting.
Yeah, for sure. I barely consider these people journalists and don't think any of it matters anyways, really. But I think the main problem was this, it's not 1995 anymore. That's the main. ESPN doesn't have a monopoly on sports content, and I would love to see who was in charge of these decisions.
Yeah.
Just to get to know them briefly. And what were you thinking? What year did you think it was, sir? How did you think this is going to turn out? ESPN, the powerhouse that just all those young gamblers are consuming. It's what a disaster.
It's the equivalent of the when companies were we want to put the word blockchain in our marketing. And it's okay, you can have all the buzzwords in the world. You can say you're getting into the sports betting space, but if you're not actually, meeting the sports bettor where they are, or, going full, bore into making this part of what you do, it's never going to stick. And there's never going to be crossover with your existing audience.
They should, the other one they do besides crypto is AI. AI bet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. AI technology. An AI golf ball. It's you're putting AI in my golf ball, huh? Yeah, sure. God. Can you imagine though, how down bad DFS must be that these companies will waste $1 billion just trying to break into sports betting rather than making a DFS competitor? It says something.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a very good segue to this tweet from Taylor KB. We've had him on the show, co-founder and CEO at Establish the Run, but he kind of did a little bit of a longer tweet on what ESPN Bet winding down means, kind of through the lens of DFS and props, and talking more about the fantasy side. He has the same conclusion as us. You'd think the concept of non-gaming entities with big audiences transitioning into sports betting operators is dead for now. If it doesn't work for ESPN, who is that going to work for? But then he kind of goes blow by blow through the various DFS sites and talking about the moves they've made. He says, I won't read this whole thing word for word, but just to summarize it a little bit, that FanDuel has been more engaged in DFS here, trying to engage some of the hardcore fantasy players. Prize Picks talking about selling their legacy gaming, selling a majority stake to a legacy gaming operator for a multi-billion-dollar exit, and how they've kind of stayed laser focused on that pick'em angle. Talks about Underdog looking to become a super app for sports bet launches, prediction markets, all of this stuff. Go big or go home. DraftKings making a big push to best ball this offseason, calls it a rounding error financially for them, but allowing or a vehicle to keep players engaged. And so he says, generally, we're seeing continued expansion of different forms of fantasy sports and props. There's seemingly more pick'em, sweeps, prediction market operators by the month, expanding the amount of ways to bet on players' performance. I think the biggest question right now is how will all of these formats converge over time? I suspect the eventual market leaders continue to evolve into super apps that offer everything under one roof. which I'm sure is informing the strategies of FanDuel, Underdog, DraftKings. The complicated part is how to manage all of this given regulatory uncertainty, different risk tolerance profiles, and the operational complexity of building everything out.
Yeah. Regulatory uncertainty is a huge aspect to all this stuff, prediction markets, everything. I think the comparison between Underdog, Prize Picks, and ESPN Bet is just like the perfect comparison of like what works and what fails right now. Because the way Underdog does it and Prize Picks is they like go with the small influencer route. Basically, that's where they seems to me most of they might have some bigger ads now, but most of it has been through guys like you, and I see like Madden guys doing it now, and just like they went down that full route. I bet spent a lot less and got a lot more than the hey, let's partner with ESPN or CBS or something.
Yeah, for sure. And like you think about it too, these sites, like they built a product first and then they built marketing and content and everything around it. But it all went back to the app. It all went back to the product. With ESPN too, you're trying to take your audience and port them over to an app, to that sports betting experience. And it just like, it isn't native for their core audience in the way like the app is inherently native for a Prize Picks user and Underdog user, because that was their first interaction with even the brand itself. And then you build content around it, and then it's just like a natural extension. You already understand like the nuts and bolts of how to use the product, where how many people, even, you know, retirees sitting on their couch watching ESPN, you might be like, yeah, I'd like to bet on Phil Mickelson or whatever. Like they're not going to be able to get the app and get in there and know how to actually even bet that.
That I wonder what the audience age is, the average audience ESPN member. Probably what, like late 50s, early 60s, I would guess.
You'd think,
something around there. Yeah, they're not going to be internet savvy. They're not going to want the draft caddy to work on their phone. You know, for example, like requests we might get. That's not happening with ESPN Bet. No. But this the regulatory thing is kind of interesting too, because that's a huge hurdle, but they already passed it, right? They're legal. They're in states, and they were still just losing money hand over fist.
For sure. I think the regulatory stuff is kind of this like game of cat and mouse we're seeing all of these guys play with the prediction markets, the licensings. And it's like they're all trying to stay nimble. And we talked about the DraftKings where it was like, they're like, yeah, the prediction market stuff, that's never going to like work or replace it. And then they buy a prediction market where it's like, but just in case that is the path forward or whatever. Even the same thing happened back when with like the pick six and the pick'ems, like DraftKings, like, oh, like we have all this lock on sports betting, but like if you guys are having success with the pick'em type format, like let's roll out our, you know, pick six game or whatever. And there's this constant, you know, even with the best ball stuff, right? FanDuel, DraftKings making a clear investment. They're like, oh, this has worked for Underdog from a customer acquisition standpoint. Maybe we should circle back to this thing that's been under our nose the entire time.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if they, I mean, I imagine they can't basically. I wonder if they regret trying to use regulation for their own benefit, these like smaller legacy casinos and stuff that are eventually just probably going to get wiped out or bought up by these bigger prediction market and Prize Picks, et cetera, DraftKings companies in the long run, where the game in the beginning was, this is why DraftKings in Illinois had its like year and a half delay before you could register there. It was because they had such a stranglehold. They'd assume they'd have such a stranglehold on the market because of all the DFS accounts that they couldn't compete. That was the argument by the local casinos in Illinois, I'm sure, in other states too. And they were right. I mean, I don't think it's right. Like, who gives a shit? Like, what is your company more valuable than someone else's company? Like, is it the employees there more important than the employees of the other company? But they were right though, that even spending all this money, like with Penn and taking multiple different avenues, they still were just losing money hand over fist, and they were regulated.
Yep. Well, and I think all these, like the old school stuff, like no one there was probably no one at a board meeting even 5 years ago who like could have foreseen like the way this prediction market type stuff would have picked up and been a feasible thing. Like there's no way this was even on their radar. They probably couldn't even fathom that this would have been an attack vector for their business model.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that's common in business.
True.
Right? No one thinks Amazon's going to go under, but eventually Amazon will go under. No one thought Sears Roebuck was going to go under when we were kids, but it's no longer a company. So who knows where it's eventually going to come from. That's why you use regulations. You use regulations just to fend off any disruptive new technology. It's like, whoa, we already regulated for this. Sorry, pal.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about like, so one of the things Taylor's talking about here, the main thing is like this idea of fantasy sports and whether that's, best ball, salary cap. I think we could even include pick'em type stuff in there. Mm-hmm. If it is such a small portion of their business and yet there's clearly value in it, like, do you think there can be, because we always talk about like, we want competition, like we want bigger contests. We want sites improving. We want more features. We want them like their feet to the fire. So the product and the offerings are better for us. Like, do you think this can actually happen, or it is still such a small part of what these companies ultimately want to do that it'll never actually result in more of an arms race in the fantasy space?
I mean, it's hard because if it was so big, if sports betting was so big, then why did Penn fail so spectacularly? Because like there should be enough to go around then. If sports betting is just this easy moneymaker, you would think, right? That doesn't logically make sense. Like that's what I bet. If you could go back and tell that CEO, you could spend the $1 billion doing this plan that fails, or try DFS, try a new DFS site, see how it goes. He'd be like, "Fuck it, let's try DFS." I mean, I think I would guess it's better and more profitable than people give it credit for, but maybe it's not. I don't know. But why didn't Penn succeed? I do think though, like there's like should be a moral obligation by the regulators and just influencers or popular people to advocate for peer-to-peer games. Mm-hmm. Like all of it, poker. Like if you're going to allow gambling, then it should definitely focus on peer-to-peer type forms of gaming, poker, DFS, whatever prediction markets, exchanges, stuff like that.
Yeah. It is it's unfortunate that there isn't just like what is the closest to massive upside in the fantasy space in the same way these companies see it in sports betting and in prediction markets, right? Where it's just like, it is pennies compared to what they're going after with the market shares and that other stuff. But what are the scenarios where there is massive upside for fantasy?
I think it's kind of impossible to say because the reason why like the lottery is so big is because everything else was illegal. And so, like it's the only way to gamble. And so like that was just what people did because it was the only thing you could do. And now it's just kind of part of everyday tradition or things people get involved in. Yeah. So like as you make video poker machines and stuff and casinos become more popular and online sports, but I think it's just like media's issue as a whole. It's just the attention economy is so spread out that how could there ever be a poker boom like there was in 2003 again? It seems pretty unlikely that sort of cultural phenomenon would happen. I always thought DFS should be like the skill game plus the lottery aspect. Yeah. So you could play the Sunday Millie Maker and like make those as big, like, cause if you got that up to $100 million, some crazy, $1 billion, the average Joes would take notice. It would start to get more into a lot like, and then you add on the aspect of that it's a skill game. And this is another thing I always thought they should lean into in these which is they're missing the boat with sports betting, in my opinion, by limiting anyone who even has a pulse
Yeah.
is the allure that you could make a living at this, like with blackjack or something, back in the day, that you could, if you're smart enough, you can make money at this. Like that is a big marketing point for a lot of these forms of gambling, I think. And they're throwing that one out too, pretty much all these sites.
Yeah. And I do think when I try to think through what is the true massive upside for fantasy, I think it does kind of go back to what Taylor's talking about with this super app and everything under the sun. Everything you'd want to interact with from a fantasy or sports betting space in one app.
Mm-hmm.
And then thinking about it almost through a calendar perspective of assuming there are so many people, all kind of like myself, who are just mainly NFL bros, but there are things to wager, speculate, play fantasy on throughout the entire year, and making that continuity really seamless in the app. So an example would be so when the NFL draft rolls around, right now, people just kind of go a la carte, bet some props, building out a fantasy game around picking NFL draft order or stuff like that, or where everything rolls in. And then it's okay, now we're to the combine where everybody in this community wants to bet or wants to think about that stuff. And you're ranking the whatever, I'm coming up with ideas, but basically you're never not on that app with something to speculate or think about from a game theory. Okay. And that way you can keep churning the rake. So it's not just tied up for 9 months like best ball is.
That's prediction markets then.
Yeah.
That if that's the winner, that's prediction markets, because you can do something like that right now. You could start Pete's market on Kalshi or Poly Market, assuming they get legal in your state, and come up with some sort of thing for the draft.
And then what you need, right, and what we've seen with the success too is for fantasy sports, right? Don't you think so much of fantasy sports' success is because of the content and the sites building tools and projections and stuff for it? That is the lifeblood of the fantasy industry, right? If you removed these sites where people go to get tools, projections, content, advice, the entire industry would
at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I think that's evidence of what I was saying earlier is the big marketing for these peer-to-peer skill games is that you can theoretically make money if you're smart enough and good enough, where you can't at roulette, right? Unless you cheat or they have some sort of bonus play or something.
So if you're reverse engineering stuff, like another example would be right now, I feel like this year, and maybe it's because we've been doing some stuff with Splash Sports on the Swolecast, but I think interest in Survivor stuff is picking up a little bit more. And there's fun game theory and strategy in that. There is still kind of the peer-to-peer element of what are my opponents going to be picking? I think there's you can see how, but the one thing about Survivors, there's still not a ton of content. Sites will do a little bit, a one-off article where it's I do think you need all of that coming together where you have a new unique game type or whatever, whether it is the prediction market thing, but then you need the content nonstop talking about it in a way that's oh, this is a puzzle piece I want to try to solve. I'm willing to pay you to help. And then the entire tide lifts all those boats.
This is this is kind of something I was just listening to a podcast unrelated. And it's kind of about the idea of top down or bottom up, organic, or not organic, and because you could design something in theory and be this is going to be awesome, but will anyone use it? So the idea there is kind of what is going to be next, what's going to be popular next, and nobody fucking knows. And it's only where there's a whole bunch of viable alternatives and choices, and then for some reason underdog becomes popular, and then when you look back you go, well, underdog became popular because of X, Y, and Z. It's that the meme of the World War II bomber with all the gunshot flak shot holes. I don't know if you've seen that on the bias one. So I think it's no one knows. We can't guess. The best you could do is try to get in early and hope you're in the right one.
Yeah. Gazer says, do you think the explosion has perhaps smoked out losing players faster, basically accelerating their life cycle? I mean, I think we all agree that that's happened to an extent in like DFS salary cap stuff. But one of the reasons stuff like Best Ball, stuff like Survivor, I think is way stickier is because like it requires less money. It doesn't chew you up and spit you out as quickly as salary cap DFS. And like the entertainment value is, it's like a really good ratio on the time, the entertainment time you get out of a single buy-in for those kind of things. And so ultimately, I think these sites want to balance those things, right? They want to churn the rake to make money. Can't just all be best ball and stuff, but you also need the things for lower volume players who are less skillful, who can't stay in the game with a big bankroll. Like you need things to keep them engaged and on the site as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, when you look back on it, I think it's kind of more obvious too. Best Ball is way more interesting streamed than DFS is.
Yeah.
Or sports betting for sure. Sports betting's the worst probably for content. And we live in a YouTube world right now. And so Best Ball looks good. It's also a play on something people were already familiar with. Like I think my first snake draft, I was like 12, like a lot of guys who are into sports are familiar with snake drafts and not familiar with salary cap.
Yeah.
And they did the whole angle of using influencers instead of trying to get in with ESPN, which they probably couldn't afford it anyways, but would have been a gigantic mistake. That's funny too, is like how much of this is luck. Maybe if Jeremy had the capital on hand, he would have been making some of these mistakes himself and he just got lucky because he had to get creative. I mean, probably not, but you never know.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Like, Taylor says FanDuel's become more engaged in DFS. I wonder if there's an element of them like not getting back into best ball in a big way. It's almost like this saving face thing of like, they had acquired draft and jettisoned it and then allowed underdog to rebuild draft as underdog essentially. Like, I wonder if in their heart of hearts, they know, hey, this FanDuel, we see what DraftKings is doing. We see what underdog, this would be a nice arm for what we're trying to do, but we would look so dumb, like coming back to something that we like literally had. And it said, yeah, no, we don't need this. This does nothing for us.
Oh man. Maybe I think they have new guys who are in charge since that decision. Maybe not, but like, hey, like he says here, I think he said it in here somewhere. Like, yeah, pleasant surprise. Like, let's not, although they haven't done much the last couple of weeks, FanDuel, let's bring back some of those promos, please.
Yeah,
season's getting late and people are starting to fall off. Let's do some more promos. At least they're trying something. So props to FanDuel. But yeah, the draft debacle. Oh my God. They dropped the ball big time. They were number one for a while. I think a lot of new people probably don't even know that. FanDuel was the big boy back in the day.
That was the first when the very first lineup I ever played in 2013 was on FanDuel. I don't think I knew DraftKings even existed at that time when I played my first DFS lineup on FanDuel.
Yeah, management matters and decisions they make matter a lot. God, could you imagine if FanDuel would have just like let them do their underdog thing, but under the FanDuel brand, they'd be worth so much more right now.
Yeah, Mackin says they bought draft for $19 million in 2017, and I want to say they had it was like a year non-compete or something, and then they were allowed to go back and build it again.
But did nothing with it, right? Literally nothing. I think.
Yeah, it was completely discarded.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the ESPN Bet thing with the Barstool, right? Where or Penn gives it back to Portnoy for $1. And then
this is how you get communists everywhere, Pete. They're like, give me 19 million. What are you guys wasting? You're just wasting this fucking money all over the place.
And so then circling back to what the move with ESPN. So part of this then is they just announced that they're now partnering with DraftKings as their primary ESPN and DraftKings enter a multi-year agreement. DraftKings will become the official sportsbook and odds provider of ESPN. So is this move, it's basically like we tried this ESPN Bet thing. The thought was by us owning it and integrating it, that the upside is just so much higher. But because this lost us a ton of money, let us just get our regular affiliate money from a site like DraftKings, and that will take all the headache out of it, all of the managing, and we'll just cash our affiliate checks and be done with this.
ESPN should have been sold to one of these companies is what should have happened if they wanted to go down that route.
As opposed to the inverse. Like you guys do content now as opposed to us doing sports betting.
Exactly, yeah. So like if they're going to be owned by Disney, some people would argue they shouldn't do any of this stuff, but this is much better for them. I can imagine they made out pretty good in this deal, honestly. They get immediately signed with DraftKings. And they got hundreds of millions at least. There was probably something in that deal.
Offset all their losses on the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get the 8 years, but I bet they got something.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I wonder what other bids there even were, like from what other sports betting companies would have been in the mix to be their partner, like an MGM.
I mean, this happened fast, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably nobody else who's going to pay ESPN. And it makes sense for DraftKings it's like like McDonald's still advertises. It's like, dude, everyone knows who you are. Why are you advertising? Like they kind of just have to. You kind of just have to be affiliated with ESPN if you're the big boy. Even though it probably doesn't give DraftKings that much total benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, it's the classic like trust, brand awareness thing. Like I'm sure there's lots of ESPN people who have heard the word DraftKings and thought it's like this weird, bizarre thing that they don't want to be a part of. But it's like, oh yeah, ESPN is tied to this. This somehow has to be legit. Like that kind of of impact. Yeah. Yeah,
it's not like no value or whatever. Did you I was trying to find this tweet. I didn't save it. I should have saved it. Someone said the total amount bet by Americans.
Where is that?
I can't find it, but it was total amount bet. It was somebody just tweeted out the handle, and it was like 200 and something 50 billion, something like that. And the tweet was, which is more than books and movies and one other thing combined, or any of them individually. Anyways, there was more bet. The only thing it leaves out, which is kind of an interesting number, is that's the handle and not like how much did they end up paying for the product of betting, which is in my opinion entertainment product.
Yes,
which would be significantly lower because it would be whatever the hold was across all bets in the country. So it was probably more like 7-8 billion or something.
Yeah.
That they bet or lost, which is actually pretty good value. Like if like movies are like 200 billion, like you get zero back, right? You get zero back from going to a movie. You spend more, right? Because you usually have to drive there, gas, and buying some popcorn. Who knows? So you're getting zero back. So I don't know if it's just an entertainment product. 7 billion, that's not that bad across the entire country.
No, it is not. Did you see this comment from Maz says prediction markets make me so depressed. Time to go bet on the highest temp in New York City today. That reminds me, there was a clip floating around later last week. It was after we did the show, I want to say. And I think it was the CEO of Kalshi. It was either Kalshi or Polymarket CEO. And he was kind of like waxing poetically about some of the like pie in the sky ways prediction markets could work. But he was getting, and we had similar conversations on the show of like why this could evolve beyond sports betting and actually have some real life benefits. But he was getting slammed in the replies and the quote tweets about being like, bro, shut up. You run a glorified sports book was basically every take. And like, he's talking about like this stuff of like, how it could help, in the same way I was like, what if you had stuff on like global warming trends and like the money in this, and that could help inform policy or whatever it might be. And but when he said it, people were really upset because it's like, dude, you're just trying to make money with a circumventing, sports betting legislature, basically.
That's why I always thought that Polymarket and Kalshi, they're kind of like engagement tweets, were a little risky. And then getting into sports betting so early. Maybe they had to. Maybe you had to kind of get into sports betting so early. I did. I saw. I think it's this guy's affect.
Okay.
I think people just don't like the way he talks.
Yeah, so it's Kalshi CEO Tarek Mansour. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I think he's like, some gigabrain mathematician from MIT or whatever is his background. Mm-hmm. But he said the core unlock that could happen with prediction markets is you forecast the future better. You are pricing risk. If you can price risk, then you can make better decisions about the risk. And then you can also transfer it. You can hedge. And I think that's where the market really, really becomes very large, which I think is cool and is the right take on it. But people really did not like him. And maybe it goes back to just him having a punchable face or not liking his affect or whatever.
I think there's definitely, I saw somebody putting up their list of like, what's the word, whatever, where you just don't like the general look of a person or whatever it was. And it was like, Sam Bankman-Fried, he had this list and he's like adding this guy to my list of, Sam Altman.
Look at these replies. Like every single one of them, most casino owners are just happy taking your money, but the tech bros need to bask in the smell of their own farts. This casino owner is huffing his own farts too much. American dynamism, getting everyone addicted to gambling. Fuck you. I'm like, even as much as people dislike Jason Robbins at times, like his mentions don't even look this bad. When he talks about like the future of sports betting, like they really don't like this guy.
No, I think he comes off and people, I didn't think he was that bad, but that is what, because I saw this same thing, but it was a different thread too of people shitting on him. So I think just a lot of people did not like the way Homeboy talks.
Yeah.
I still will say this. Maybe don't get a PR person, get rid of this guy as your front end, but that is what I would do. Is I would still do the whole, when DraftKings was asked, are you a gambling company? You say no, we are a skill-based company. Back then, that's what you said. I know it sounds stupid, but I think that, and maybe he believes all this too, which is even better if you can get someone there who believes it. That's the angle they should go down. This is about forecasting, helping, transfer risk, letting individuals, connect and bet in a safe way, just all that type of shit. I guess maybe don't say bet, but resolve differences of opinion, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Don't go sports betting. Don't say we're sports betting.
No. And because a lot of times, the number one thing people think of, I think, when you say prediction markets before all this sports betting stuff was like, oh, that's where I can go bet on the election. Right? Like that. Like, I feel like that was people's main association with it. And I've never heard anyone say like this on-ramp for, betting on the election or speculating on the election is like ruining society or whatever. But it's
right.
And they were also like, their core business model were the ancillary markets outside of sports. They've just now, because they built the infrastructure and the rails for this, they're like, oh, we can now capture this part of the pie. But it's really the sports books who are now wanting to leverage this because it's an easier way to sidestep the regulatory stuff.
Right. Yeah. That'll be, they're already regulated, so it'll be tough for them. Yeah. So it's a tricky game because they don't want to play the whole, this is immoral stuff. It's like, well, then that's not like necessarily good for your company, but they're already embedded. So like maybe that is this A16Z guy? Can you click on his name really quick? Is he a conservative? No.
I think this might just be the company account.
Yeah, there's some name like that because I would have thought maybe if there's like a conservative following for this account that you would get more pushback on gambling. There is a decent amount of pushback online that I see. I don't know if you agree, not just in this guy's thread, on gambling's evil. It's ruining society, like porn and gambling. Mm-hmm. DraftKings and Pornhub are ruining young men. Mm-hmm. A lot of that chatter and podcasting. Are you seeing that too, or no?
I mean, more so the gambling stuff. I guess I haven't seen the it lumped in with porn specifically, but I've definitely heard it with gambling.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing a decent amount of it. And maybe they're right. You did just, though, say something that I always like whenever I get into these discussions with people, like, it's like, well, do you think, like, in the case of Polymarket and Kalshi, like, if, Bob wants to say, it's going to rain tomorrow and Tim goes, no, it's not. Do you think it's wrong for them to put $20 on it?
That's called male friendship.
It's like, do you know how long everyone does shit like this forever? Yeah. It's like, that's why I think politicians leaning into the peer-to-peer thing, because there's like there's no distinctions made between this stuff for the vast majority of people. Mm-hmm. Where when we had what was it, Oscar, the guy who was kind of he's like kind of pro gambling, but he's anti casino sports, internet casinos and stuff. Do you remember we had him on?
Who was it? Where was he from?
He was like he was like the young guy who did like some lobbying.
Oh, I do remember him. Yeah. We had like tracked him down because he had written an article, right? Like on a Substack. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And so, like, his distinctions, will make sense to our audience, but to your general person, they don't know the difference between an iCasino and blackjack and poker and a betting exchange and prediction markets. It's just bad. You're evil. You know, so I don't know. Like, I don't know where this all goes, but like, if you can't make a distinction between those things and make it a very important point, which is I kind of wish these companies never got into sports betting, because maybe that would have been a battle these people would have and fight out on those grounds.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of still hard even with poker. Because poker was illegal, first of all, for 100 years or whatever, and it's got the wild west kind of stuff. There's a lot of connotations with poker even that couldn't really go full normie mainstream in terms of like the morality angle. Mm-hmm. But like this type of stuff, where like two people have a different guess on who's going to be the nominee for the Prime Minister of England. Like, who gives a shit? Let them bet it. They're betting against each other, and this company is providing them liquidity and safety that you'll get paid because they're a third party. Like, who cares? So, and that's leaving aside all the gambling addiction type of stuff. That is a whole nother distinction, I think, that needs to be made in all these conversations. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would like, it's never going to happen, but I do wish like politicians or these people would get into that distinction, especially peer-to-peer. You think with crypto, Pete, it would be a common talking point these days. Like, oh no, that's peer-to-peer. That's why it's different. It's not the sports.
I was just going to make a joke that we're asking them to get into the nuance and the distinctions of these things within sports betting and fantasy, and our government isn't even open. I think we got to start. Yeah, like, can we open up the national parks and then we can start thinking about the distinction here?
Good point. Yeah, they're not even open. But like, even if they were, I mean, maybe it's just because I work there, but like, people who are like, no, they'll fix it. It's like, you ever dealt with these people?
I mean, isn't that kind of, what's happening is because they know, like, finding the nuance in the existing laws and the existing regulations, and it's just like impossible. It's just like there's too much, red tape, too much bureaucracy, all of the things you've talked about before. And so then what does actually work? It's just moving forward, experimenting, finding these new other technologies, new other ways, and just being like, we will just go to the thing that doesn't have all the red tape yet. You will make red tape around it, but at least maybe we get there first and we can actually build something and then direct the legislation around it, as opposed to trying to fix what already exists, because that we know is just a fool's errand.
It's sad and true at the same time. You're totally right. There's really nothing else. There's nothing else. And like the advocacy angle we tried with poker, like, did not work at all. I mean, it's noble, sure, but like it did not, and it wouldn't work with DFS either. I mean, if you can get it done for cheap, you maybe try some sort of DFS advocacy group or something. But yeah, it's pretty impossible to move the needle. And if you did though, like you got to stay there because they're there forever and you're not. Like you got to go back to work. You got to go back to live your life. So it really would have to be some dedicated group that just works on it full time, dealing with this type of stuff. Yeah, but it is. I think it is noteworthy for people who are interested in these markets and DFS and best ball stuff. The temperature of anti-gambling sentiment online has gone up dramatically in the last 2, 3, 4 years. And it's obviously because it's legal now and in almost every state, and because of all these controversies of people taking bribes and rigging events, Pete.
Yeah, which is a good segue to this UFC sports betting scandal. Have you just to frame it? Have you been playing MMA? DFS?
No, I haven't been playing MMA at all. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there was this. I believe was this over the weekend that this fight took place?
Yeah, I think Saturday. I think.
Yeah. So there was a fight. UFC Vegas 110, and this heavy favorite, Isaac Dolgarian. What an incredible name! That's like you were born to be some kind of fighter.
Yeah, like you do not want to fuck with Dolgarian.
No. So he was heavy favorite -240. He loses via first round submission to the underdog, Yadier Del Valle, I think. And there were a ton of bets that flooded in on this Del Valle underdog's early win. And it like flipped the lines. I think before there was a ton of line movement. And then I guess UFC's integrity partner and the FBI flagged it pre-flight. And UFC notified Dolgarian, but proceeded with the fight, is apparently how it went down. And then some books like William Hill refunded the bets. Dolgarian was cut Sunday. And then Dana White confirmed these FBI meetings. And rumors are unconfirmed, claim the FBI flagged 100 plus fights this year for odd betting. And White dismissed hundreds as clickbait. So now people wondering, hey, if this happened once, is this going on more? Any thoughts on the UFC scandal?
I saw, speaking of false allegations, like UFC is sports betting is just bad for that type of stuff in general, but like UFC fans seem to be really bad. I saw someone post John Jones, Cyril Gane, when they fought. They're like, this was totally fixed, and he posted the line movement. And it was like -120 to +144. And it's like, that's not in over weeks. It's like, that's not, especially with John Jones, who knows what can happen to that guy. He could go in there with like a broken arm or something. So anyways, my point being, like, it's just everything's going to be rigged from now on. There's not going to be able any way to convince these people that any of this stuff's legit. And maybe it's not. Maybe we were the fools.
Yeah. I mean, and this is, when you sent this over, like, we talk about the NBA stuff and these guys, how much money they make, but like in the UFC, some of these guys, especially ones who get like called up to be a pinch hitter, right? Like on short notice, they get paid like nothing because there's a line of these guys. Yeah, because they want this opportunity. They know how big it could be for their career, and they'll go be like a plus 800 dog to get beat up, but just to have the opportunity. And these guys get paid nothing. If someone actually came to you, in these situations, at least the money actually makes sense. Of like, you can make way, way more rigging a fight than you can from Dana cutting you a check to fight. Whereas with some of the NBA stuff, it's like, how does this quite add up?
Yeah. How many fights are you going to get in your life? How many do you even want?
Yeah.
With those prices, it does make a ton of sense. And referees too. I'd be interested if they're going after the players. I'm sure they're going after the referees. I don't know about you, Pete, but like with all this I don't know, just the news of the world in the last decade. Like, I will believe like anything at this point. I have no faith in any institution or news story. Like, if you're like Pete, you're like, the world's flat. I'll be like, fuck, okay, maybe it is. We didn't land on the moon. I'm like, fine. Maybe we didn't.
Well, that's like there's truth to that, and it's funny, but it's also sad, right? Because that's like the entire conspiracy culture has been born out of that thing where people are like, I'm lied to so much. There's so much clickbait. There's so much gaslighting that it results in this state of not wanting to believe anything because a lot of times you have been, hoodwinked or whatever it would be. But yeah, it was even funny. I remember this summer, this isn't quite exactly related, but it's like, it used to be, you'd hear like these sports rumors and they were always just like these, tall tales, these things. But it seemed like it was the summer of all of the rumors coming true. It's like Najee Harris got his eye blown out by a firework. And it's like, well, this year it probably did happen. And then it's like, it did happen. Like 5 years ago, that is something that never would have happened. And that rumor just gets spread. And in 2025, it's like, no, that shit actually happened.
Yeah. It's crazy. It like I saw one Discord's a psyop, right? This one I saw from some podcasters I listened to. And it's like, because, that like, what was it, Malaysia or whatever, like their government was overthrown by some kids in a Discord. I don't know if you heard this story, but this is a real life event in Asia somewhere. And they're like, well, it's probably, the psyop from the CIA getting involved and stuff. In my head, I'm like, do you know how hard it is to like start an app? Like, and then get it as popular as Discord. And then you got to fund it for all these other people that aren't related to your app. Like, this is completely impossible. But now I'm like, fuck, maybe it is. Maybe Discord's an app. I have no fucking clue. I will believe fucking anything.
Jeez.
Like, I used to like use my rational brain to be like, no, listen, if you think about this a little bit, it's highly unlikely. And then boom, some news drops the next day. It's like there's another tweet I think I might have sent you where it's like, they think like 100 people either under investigation or claim they were approached or whatever the tweet was.
Yeah.
It seems like quite a bit of a problem in MMA. And to the everything is rigged bros on Twitter. They've been complaining about UFC fights for a long time, and they might have been right in quite a bit of them. I always thought it was like the referees for me. It was like seemed like a lot of weird shit. The judges
it's always super arbitrary.
The judges be like, you got someone went 30-28 in that. Oh my God. What are they?
Yeah. Watching? And when there's so much like variance between the three judges, it's like, are you guys all watching the same thing?
Yeah,
like, shouldn't it be weird. A little closer? Yeah.
And I think we know why. Now I am everything rigged, bro. I'm getting there.
Dude, I will say, like, the difference between rigging something in like the NBA where it's just like, oh, I accidentally threw a few bad passes or whatever, versus in the UFC, like the content, like it is like these dudes have to protect themselves from like literally not getting killed, like taking a shot to the head or whatever, where I'm like, the stakes of like throwing a fight, I'm like, okay, you want me to throw a fight, which means I get just like pummeled into oblivion?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not as easy as just like not getting a few rebounds.
Yeah, shit. I mean, they're professionals, so maybe they can be like, oh, I could probably get him to choke me out only. Like, that's not that bad.
I guess it's the tap out, right? He tapped out.
Yeah, but so, how do you get there? You got to get to the ground. You got to get him to the ground and then let him win, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you might get kicked in the head trying to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it depends on how much it is.
Lulz is a 5-year long. I know when you're talking about your distrust of Discord, I did want to say I've noticed you've been a little withholding in our DMs. Get normal, like you're a little more skeptical of the deep state there.
I mean, is Pete compromised the draft board? I don't know. I mean, do you know for certain he's not?
Yeah, why would I have my own Discord?
How did you get on the NFL show?
Yeah.
How did you get that gig?
I did look up how much like Dolgarian has gotten paid. Like even for UFC 110, this one, he had a $12K base salary and then a $4,500 promotional bonus. I assume that means if he wins, you get that. I mean, that is like, for what a massive industry And it's like, it's different. Like if you're just like the 53rd man on an NFL squad and like you never see the field or whatever, like you're not really contributing to the entertainment product and all of the like money, like sure, technically. But like if you are on an undercard that like the amount of money being get, like you are a huge part of that entertainment product by just being out there in the octagon. Like how disproportional that pay is to what they bring in is wild. Like you're telling me we can't even get these guys up to like 50K, six figures, low six figures for a fight. It seems nuts.
It is wild. And it's also just wild that like what men are capable of doing for $12,000.
For $12,000. I've seen what Davis will do for $1,200.
It looks kind of like this now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Don't you think too? Like, I actually wonder, like, wouldn't the product eventually get better too if you had better pay, right? Wouldn't more fighters, you know, or maybe people who were on the fringe of wanting to fight be like, oh yeah, I'm interested in that sport. Like it's pretty lucrative or whatever. Like to get to the top of that sport and actually make real money, like that's a tough bet to make. Like I'm going to work my way through the ranks and like eat shit for this long. Like that's not a career path a reasonable person would be licking their chops for.
No, which is why you get a lot of people willing to take a dive and people who end up in jail. A lot of these guys. You don't have to be like the greatest fighter either, because I think a lot of the female fights might bring in some more money than, you know. But the thing is, with the other aspect of like the low pay, it seems like almost criminally low. Like I can't imagine it would matter to the UFC's bottom line that much to go like 30K, you know, for this guy. 65K.
It really feels like it's like breaking some kind of labor laws is how cheap it feels.
Yeah. Like he has a grudge against the fighters or something.
Yeah.
Like it's that low where it's like, you guys aren't making enough to pay these guys like 50K a fight.
And one of the things about like why the NFL is able to get away with so much of the stuff, and with the mountains of evidence with concussion stuff and CTE and the stuff, is because like these guys are paid handsomely, and they've often like hid behind that of like, hey, you're making 10 million a year, like you know what you're signing up for, like this is part of the sport, yada yada. Like this is like the most like exposed way to like show blood sport that there is, and then also just saying like we don't even have to pay these guys anything and they will come and beat each other to a bloody pulp for your entertainment. Like there's no even like veneer of we're doing something different here or like making careers. It's like, no, we are going to give you a puny little paycheck to come be our entertainment. It's kind of sick.
Yeah, it's fun. Like there's like 10 fights a weekend, right? Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. Usually a couple more. Let's just say 10 to make the math easier. You couldn't give an extra 40 grand per fight. It's 400 grand. Like the UFC, that should be like a rounding error, you would think, unless they're not making shit.
Yeah. And Zelon in the chat says fighter has to pay coaches, trainers, gym, all of those other costs. Yeah. And that's why you even see like the guys, you know, we've talked about our guy, Sean O'Malley, over the years. I mean, he's basically become an influencer. He basically has spun off his UFC platform into making money in other ways. He has partnerships. I think he had a Prize Picks deal, or maybe he still does or whatever, and has a huge Instagram following, and I'm sure sells merch and all of that stuff, where he's like, that's the real value, is using the platform as a springboard, not to being a professional getting paid.
Yeah, and Dana White probably uses that against them too. Like, hey, you get big, and then we don't need we can only pay $12 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like that's like what, like 120, 140 a year if the guy fought every month, which you can't.
Yeah. There should be. Yeah, if you, it will probably never happen. But I wonder if there's a way to like. There should be a ratio or a percentage of like the total handle wagered on your fight that like informs like the baseline because obviously the biggest marquee fighters are going to have way more handle on them and deserve to get paid more. But like even those lower level fights are bringing in a ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah. They I mean, it is weird, but that is a place maybe they could unionize and pull it off. I mean, you can't really go much lower than 12 grand, right?
Yeah.
So it's like basically they'd be working for free. Anyone who would crack the union line.
Yeah. I wonder if that is the issue too, where it's almost like there would just be so many, whatever the equivalent of scabs is in this scenario of like, okay, I guess at that low level stuff, I mean, they want a good product, right? Like they're still trying to build out storylines. They're trying to build out people who move up the ranks and build up an audience. But I wonder if they're just like, yeah, you're just meat and bones. And there's another meat and bones behind you. If you don't want to accept this $14,000 for this fight. And there's no ultimate pressure for them to actually change.
Can I make this side point before we wrap the show up?
Yeah.
You've done it before, but I'm interested in people arguing with me, or if you have other thoughts on, like, because Dana White immediately calls the FBI. I said this about the NBA stuff. I don't know why the NBA or the FBI would be involved in this at all. I don't like. I just Googled like, what's the purpose of the FBI? It's to protect the American people, uphold the Constitution. A national security agency.
Yeah.
I don't see how a fighter in the UFC fighting a fight, there should be they're like stopping child sex trafficking rings and shit, right? Why would you spend a fucking penny of that money on these other important issues to find out who is taking a dive in the UFC? It does not matter in the fucking slightest. Maybe to Dana White it matters, but let him handle it. Fire them or sue them and claw back that 12 grand. I'm sure the guy's quaking in his boots, but whatever. Use local civil measures.
Yeah,
I can understand the FBI getting tipped and then contacting the local police force or something, because maybe there could be a riot at the stadium because of something like this. Now that's assuming the mob isn't involved here, which they probably are. And then once there's like international organized crimes, of course, the FBI should be involved in that. But I think a lot of people don't think like that. They go like, no, rigging a sporting event should be jail time or something. Like, why? Who cares?
Right. No, it is so funny that we have our hero at the middle of both of these. Cash Patel gets the call from Dana. He's loving this, right? Because this is the high profile stuff that's gonna make the news. He's like,
he's
of course,
send Dana White that Punisher pin, in the mail.
Yeah,
and he's gonna wear that at the next UFC event.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But like it almost like it's a good distraction technique though from the leagues, right? Like if you're thinking why from Dana's perspective, when you invoke the FBI, you're saying like this is so much bigger than us.
Yeah.
Like these are outside forces conspiring against our beloved sport. When it's like maybe the root cause of why something like this could happen is because of systemic pay issues in your own sport and stuff like that. Maybe the call is coming from inside the house, but you call up the FBI and like, we need you. This isn't happening because of us. No, this is an outside mafia coming to take our sport down or whatever it is.
I guarantee that call itself alone costs more than 12 grand. Not kidding. Like Dana White's time, the FBI people's time, the FBI people filing the paperwork and calling around to other FBI agents, all their salaries, I guarantee cost more than fucking 12 grand. So if he would have just given these fighters a little bit extra cash, it would save taxpayer fucking money.
Yeah. This is also a few, like the chat pointing out a few other crazy parts of this story. The UFC got tipped off about this ahead of time. Let the fight go on. You wanted to, I mean, Dana White, I mean, he was our hero putting up UFC fights during the heart of COVID. I mean, the show was going to fucking go on.
That was
Dana White. He's the show will go on of any sports.
I appreciate that, honestly. Yeah. I love that.
And then Ryan says the funniest part is that they asked the fighter beforehand about it. What's he gonna say? He's like,
no.
Yeah. Are you gonna rig it? And he's like, no.
No.
God, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it, and it goes because again, like, I wonder if in Dana's mind, if he's just thinking maybe this won't blow up kind of thing or something, and we'll just let it go. Whereas if I pull the fight, like obviously that's going to bring a lot of attention and stuff to it. Yeah. I'm trying to think from like a PR/business perspective, what is a better move from him? Not saying what's right.
It could just be misreporting also.
Yeah.
That didn't happen in that order or something.
Yeah.
But if let's say it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Hey, did you see this quote? So White, when he got notified, went and asked, he said, "What's going on? There's some weird betting action going on in your fight. Are you injured? Do you owe anybody money? Has anybody approached you?" And the kid said, "No, absolutely not. I'm going to kill this guy." Saying I'm going to kill this guy is a little the lady doth protest too much, I think.
I don't know about a UFC fighter, but yeah.
Yeah.
He was minus 250 favorite. I actually think I had this guy in my lineup before.
Wow. Maybe you are owed. You got to go back and look at all your CSVs of Dolgarian lineups and see where you were cheated from winning.
That's another thing too. For DFS players, people, it doesn't even matter because like you don't know. You could be on either side. So like you could benefit just as likely as you were fucked.
Well, I wonder how many people did get both. So like you think about the UFC models, right? Who have priced these guys and have priced them at this. And then the odds flip right before lock because all of this money comes in on the other side of this specific thing. But then the models are probably being like, there is a ton of value on Dolgarian. Like these odds just moved. Like, or did they steam chase or did people get caught saying like, this line should not have moved. Let me go get Dolgarian at like plus money now or whatever.
Should sue Dolgarian, clawbacks for that 12,000 for your DFS lineups.
Yeah.
I think I've decided I'm going to make an everything is rigged app, Pete. A model.
Discord.
With the assumption that everything is rigged and how can we make money off of it?
Yeah. Crazy. I will say though, at least with UFC, like, you get a lot more like sanctimonious stuff with like NFL and NBA and MLB and like the major sports of like our beloved sports are rigged. Like this is America's pastime. Yeah. I don't think with UFC there's like any sanctimony with it, right? Like it's just like they're just beating the shit out of each other. Like there are probably, I don't know. It's probably it's not going to. For the NBA, it's like a PR nightmare. I almost feel like this isn't necessarily a PR nightmare for the UFC.
No. I think there's that aspect of just everyone's beating the shit out of each other and it's fighting. But also boxing has kind of been sketchy as fuck.
True.
For 150 years. And so a lot of people are just, that's what happens in the fight game. There's a lot of rigged shit.
Yeah.
And there are some people also just have been conditioned, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was this bad. I didn't think it logically made sense for a lot of this type of stuff to be occurring as frequently as it was. I'm surprised how internet savvy these mobsters are. Is this the fight?
Yeah, I was kind of like curious like how like how obvious it looked when he's got to
get it to the ground. Because he needs to get pinned.
Yeah.
He's the red shorts, right?
Yeah. Red short, yeah. So here are the odds. The opening odds were minus 285, and it closed at minus 130.
I wonder what's going through in his mind. Like, is this too obvious? Should I get out of this?
Yeah. Also, like, do we know which sports books had flagged these where like the biggest bets were on him? Because it goes back to that thing too of like, don't these accounts like they're gonna get flagged? They probably could.
It was a casino or something. 17 million at somewhere is what I saw.
Yeah. We got Ryan, who knows a little UFC ball, says the screenshot he was talking about, they have him in a rear naked choke and he's trying to punch him, not fight his hands, pull away. You don't have to know jiu-jitsu to realize that's wrong. Not to go full film, bro, but he purposely doesn't close his hands on that double leg either. So some ball knowers even say some of his actions were not checking out.
Let's see. Does he let him? Does he go out, or does he tap?
He taps. That's what it said in the article, that he taps. See, he's like, how long should I need to grimace here to really sell this? He's like, all right, that's enough pain for me.
I mean, he can't be happy about losing, you'd think, too.
No,
yeah,
I mean,
that didn't look great. I would say pretty solid performance for faking it.
I'll tell you what, if I was watching that fight, I would not have been able to flag. Like,
yeah, if you did.
But, yeah.
Kind of, when you know in hindsight, it's harder.
For sure. You're colored by that.
For sure, yeah. I wonder if I could find that. I think it was 17 million.
Dude, hang on. How about we talk about the other guy, man? How stoked would you be if you got wind of my opponent is rigging it? Not only do I get to win the fight, but I know that I don't have to take any kind of like heat or get 100% of this guy. It's a win-win for you. You're not rigging it. You're the one that just gets to win. You get the dummy opponent. That has to be a good feeling right there.
Well, I mean, you're saying he knows this beforehand?
No, I was saying, like, if you did catch wind of it, that your opponent was taking a dive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing bad on your end, right? Like, no one's coming after you as part of this scandal. You just get the easy dub. Like, that's a nice feeling.
Like, you start fucking with them. You like put your hands down. Like, go ahead, punch me. I know you can't. Go ahead.
You just really tempting him to see how far he'll go.
Go ahead. See how this goes with your backers, buddy.
Yeah, seriously. All right, Brian. Anything else here? I have a show at 3 that I got to get a few things done for beforehand. Anything else on your end?
Not really. We're gonna hopefully have a new sport soon. We'll see how that goes.
Ooh,
nothing official yet. And we're gonna have a new promo code for Pete.
Really?
Yeah, we're gonna do your idea, Pete.
Oh, for ratcheting up some discounts here. Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's live yet, but I'll tell you when it is.
Yeah, let me know before the show tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, will do.
Good stuff. Like I said, 3 p.m. I'm doing the Battle Royale Bash. I'll have the usual slate of shows tomorrow, including Bully the Sims with Utica. That'll be at 3 p.m. Uta coming off his Millie win.
Another Millie.
Just another
Millie. Just throw it on the pile.
Someone asked him in the in-game syndicate Discord how many have been, and he goes 10 or 11. He can't even keep track. That's how you know when you can't even keep track of how many Millies you won. My God.
Yeah. He bets a lot.
All right, guys. We will see you guys next time on Lulz. Have a great rest of your week. Peace.